What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Comic-Con exclusive Cold Slither set. So let's see what we've got going on. Let's check it out. As promised, today we'll be taking a look at the Comic-Con Cold Slither exclusive set. So let's see what we've got going on. Taking a look at the package, we have this nice theater design here. You can see the marquee big and bold. We're at the Springfield Theater. You've got posters out on the outside of the venue. Gem apparently appearing soon here. Some motorcycles down at the front. Gijoe logo on the front of the box as well there. Taking a look at the top, we can see the HVAC layout of the roof there. You got a little graffiti, hello governor. So pretty nice aesthetic, keeping with the theme, right? I like the consistency there. Flip it to the side, we continue on with the theme. You've got the Average Joe's poster up there, a little more graffiti. Flip it to the back, you've got a fire escape. You've got Dreadnoks graffiti, Cold Slither written on the wall there. Important information down at the bottom. Flip it to this side, you've got your newspaper stands, you've got extra posters, a little bit more of that graffiti. You can continue to see the nice brick outlay there. So a nice box design. I do like what they did with this. Once we remove the sleeve, we can see the box office there. You have the doors to enter the venue. It really just gives it a nice bit of life to what otherwise would just be some recyclable materials, right? This cardboard box here. But in theory, you could certainly use this in a display or for pictures or whatever if you wanted to. It gives you a good exterior. Once we open the front, we can then see the band start to appear, right? So very open, very cool concept here. You've got the members of Cold Slither, Torch, Buzzer, Zartan, and Ripper ready to rock. They look cool. Cold Slither, why not? It's a fun, silly pack, right? This is something that's going to have its own specific area on the display. But, hey, I could not turn this down. On the Torch side, you can see him there. He's got a little bit of writing behind him. Speaker on the left of the box there. Torch at the top. You've then got Buzzer on drums. I think something cool about this is if you didn't necessarily want this set, to get some 1/12 scale instruments is also cool for other ideas. Now you're gonna have to pay up for these if that's your idea. I will just rock with the Cold Slither thing here, but there's Buzzer, drumsticks in hand, ready to go, looking cool. Next up is Zartan, looking every bit of the 80s inspiration that he is going for in this band, right? So he's got the bright green on the guitar, sort of BC Rich style, so I like that. It does give a good aesthetic, and he's just hanging there. I like it. And then last but not least, we do have Ripper mirroring his counterpart Torch over there with the speaker on the side. And what an appropriate name for an 80s metal, hair metal guitarist, right? Ripper, right? It makes sense. So there you are. There he is. Also looking every bit of the 80s inspiration. And then just as a point, you'll see Long Live Cobra down at the bottom, and you'll see the snakes all throughout the design, sort of scaling in the box art here, snakes overlaid. So tiny touches, looks good. Let's get them out of the box. All right, now that everybody's been removed, we can get a good look at the interior of the box there. You can see the stage area, some stairs going around. This is cool looking. You've got, just beer cans and set lists on the stage. Fresh out of the box, here is a look at Cold Slither in action figure form. And man, that's cool. This is, just put this on a list of things that you never really thought would be turned into 6-inch action figures that you would display on your shelf. It kind of just one of those out there things, and that for me is a huge attraction to buying a set like this. It's random, it's fun, it is G.I. Joe. I mean, it hits a lot of elements, right? The nostalgia is there for sure. Coming off of San Diego Comic-Con, Hasbro put on a Cold Slither concert, right? Which, sheer fun, man. one of the cooler experiences of the entire Comic-Con weekend. Even though it was a separate event, separate ticket and everything, it was cool to see that come to life, right? Fun for what it is, but a neat experience for sure. So here they are, right? We've got Buzzer, Zartan, Torch, and Ripper over here. Looking good. Let's take a closer look. Moving in closer, we'll start with Buzzer because I want to check out this drum set quite a bit. I think it's so fun because we get a drum set in 1/12 scale, right? And whether or not you're going to use it for this set, something I want to see and, take a look at. All right, so there's Buzzer. He's only got the set of hands, so you're not going to get any extra hands in this. I don't know that it's completely necessary for Buzzer. Maybe for the guitar players, you want extra hands. Now, they come with good hands all around because they are appropriate to their needs. Just pointing it out. Buzzer's looking cool. He's got this great mohawk to ponytail situation. Tattoo on the arm there. Good maniacal look, or just like a crazy drummer, right? So it works either way. Cold Slither on the jean jacket on the back, studded belt. It's got the boots down here. Drumsticks in hand. Now they do have a plastic wrap around the drumstick on this hand. Not on this hand. It's something you could remove. I may just leave it because it just makes sure that remains in place. Scarf and necklace up there, and the glasses are removable. You get good detailing in the denim. There is a hole in the back there. I assume it's probably reused from something else, or you can plug something in there. There's nothing that you would do that for in this scenario, but it is there. Again, studded belt. You do have a belt buckle with a logo there. Not a whole lot going on through the pant area. You do get a little bit of the ripple to give it that life, but plain otherwise. Wristbands on each wrist, and then he does have a little band to hold that ponytail in place. As far as the articulation, the head will look down to there. Chin would touch the neck. The necklace and scarf are going to limit you a little bit forward. Head will look back to about there. You get a little bit of movement upward. Ponytail has enough malleability that when you lean backwards, it can move. So that's not super limiting, but it does keep you in place just a little bit. Head moves side to side. You get a little bit of rock in there and plenty of movement around. Arms do work all the way around. You do have that upper bicep cut, double jointed, pinless at the elbow, and then you do have a hinge at the wrist. Ab crunch, hip swivel. Legs will kick up to there. That's a good 80s hair metal kick. You like that. Drop down hips, so you do have that movement there. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed, pinless at the knee. Boot cut, hinge and swivel at the ankle. Next, we'll move it over to Torch because guitar players need love too. What are the 80s without the magic of the guitar anyway? So here he is. Guitar's, it's got flames, man. Look, I know that this is a product of the 80s and it certainly lives up to that, but that's the aesthetic that I am enjoying from this, right? It is true to form and I like what we've done here. Good design detail in this guitar. Now, I've never actually held a guitar in hand. I've seen them in person once or twice in my life, so I assume that this is pretty on point for that. You do get the strap to go with the guitar here. He's got the yellow shirt, arrow pointing down. Fairly simple design, right? It's a yellow shirt, red details, black pants, and then you've got boots. So not much as far as any additional detailing going in, but it's got that bright pop aesthetic. He's got a good expression on the face, so I do like that. Glasses are molded on, so they aren't going anywhere. Same with the headband up there. We've got some good waving through the hair, and that mutton chop handlebar mustache combination just goes well. Spike gauntlets on the wrist, again keeping with the aesthetic. And then the boots, they do give you just a gray and red sort of situation down here. You also have the belt here with a gold belt buckle. So again, adding just a nice little touch to the design. For the articulation, the head will look down to about there. You do have that double neck, which gives you a little bit more forward motion. And then you will look back to about there, giving you some decent angle upward. Again, with that double neck, you do get a lot of rotation, plenty of movement around, and some rock in there as well. Arms work all the way around. You do have that butterfly there, upper bicep cut, double jointed pinless at the elbow, swivel at the forearm, hinge at the wrist. Ab crunch, hip swivel, leg kicks up to about there. Again, another good 80s hair metal kick. Drop down hip, upper thigh cut, double jointed pinless at the knee, boot swivel, hinge and swivel at the ankle. Moving over to Ripper, we're really leaning into the 80s hair metal aesthetic at this point. Again, not a problem for me. I enjoy that. All right, you've got this great flying V guitar with these blue and red tiger stripes. It's a great aesthetic. I love it. It's so cheesy and perfect. Nice, good hair here, beard, glasses. They are a separate piece, but they're pretty firm in there. If you want to get them out, you'll be able to. You've got the tattoos, wristbands, armbands, sash down here. These great black and red striped pants. You've got the sash around the top of the boot. I mean, really leaning into it. So, again, I am a fan of this. Your articulation at the head will be limited. You've got this big coif of hair here. Looking down, not much at all. Back, neither. A little bit of movement side to side. You do have that double neck, which gives you some additional rotation. But again, you're not going to be able to really utilize much of that. So you get side to side for the most part. Arms work all the way around. Upper bicep. Double jointed pinless at the elbow. Nothing at your forearm. Hinge at the wrist. Ab crunch. You do have that dumbbell down at the hips there, which gives you a little bit better rotation, a little bit more natural movement. Leg will kick way up to there. Now that's a good one. That's a good 80s hair metal kick. Back to there, out to there, drop down hips, of course, because all of these guys need those for the moves they're going to be doing. Upper thigh cut, double jointed pinless at the knee, boot cut, hinge and swivel at the ankle. Now, people are probably going to ask, because you have 3 of these guys wearing vests, if the vests are removable. They seem pliable enough that, if you pop the heads off and just move the arms up, you should be able to sort of wiggle those off. The alternative, like cutting the thing, not my recommendation, but it's yours. Do what you want with it. And finally, moving over to our fearless leader Zartan here with the red hair, the eye makeup. Again, it leans into it, right? And I am here for it. You've got the BC Rich style guitar with the bright green splash right in the midst of it. Guitar strap here. His guitar strap does have the green highlight, whereas the others have a sort of orange-red sort of ring on it. For your articulation, the head will look down to there. Chin not quite touching the chest. You'll get some gap between the two. Again, the hair going to be the limiting factor there, and backwards as well. You're not getting much movement back. Some rock in there side to side, plenty of movement side to side and around. Again, with the double neck, where you're limited with the hair, that at least provides you a little reprieve. Arm does work all the way around. Upper bicep cut, double jointed pinless at the elbow, nothing at your forearm, and hinge at the wrist. Ab crunch, you do have the ball down at the lower hip area. All right, let's see how this goes. Nice big kick. There you go. Yeah, that's good. Nice big kick forward. Good kick backwards. Out to there. Drop down hip, of course. Upper thigh cut. Double jointed pinless at the knee. Boot cut. Hinge and swivel at the ankle. For the costume design, right, you've got the open vest there. You've got the double belt right? Black leather belt, silver chain belt, the strings in there. Same with the rest of them, right? Some fairly plain elements, but that kind of goes with the aesthetic, right? These are like yellow spandex pants in theory. Uh, Black vest is exactly what that is. And then, true to form, you would probably be wearing like some black combat boots, right? And then he does have the cuffs on the wrist. Again, eye makeup in there, and then you can see the green eyes as well. Moving into the individual instruments, we'll start with Zartan's bass here. So he's got the very BC Rich style guitar, as I've mentioned previously. If you're not familiar, I mean, just look it up. This is fairly in line with the general aesthetic, all black throughout. So I do like that. Like, this would be a guitar that, as a bass player, I would certainly be interested in, right? The all black aesthetic with the silver for the tuning keys and just little pops with that bright green splash right there, front and center. Everything looks good. They are molded on strings, so they're not like, if you're familiar with some older toys with guitars, like having actual strings there, that's fine and good. I would prefer the molded on for a couple of reasons, right? Like, they don't move over time, they stay in place, so that is the key element. Here, they've also painted the strings, so you do get that silver sort of tone coming through, as opposed to just leaving it plain, like with Spider Punk, how those were just the same color as the neck of the guitar. On to Ripper's guitar here, more in the flying V style. I love the tiger striping here, right? It's a bright yellow guitar with the baby blue and red tiger stripes. Super 80s aesthetic. Again, with the strings painted, so you do get that sort of realistic element there. Tuning keys up at the top look good. You've even got the whammy bar on there, so hey, why not? That's a good touch. Guitar strap here as well. I think as far as like getting some detail into this scale of guitar for the company that it's coming from, I'm pretty impressed with what they've done, seeing guitars from other figures that they've done from other lines. We've also got the keytar for Torch. I've mentioned the fire, the flames there. You've got all of your different keys and elements here. Again, I've never touched a keytar. I don't know the elements of. I'm not going to pretend to know the elements of a keytar. I have played the bass and the guitar, so you have all of that going on, right? It looks like a keytar, so I assume it is. All right, that's what I got for you, folks. You do have the strap there, keeping in line. Aesthetically, looks good. You also get a set of extra guitar straps. They are in the orange, so in theory, they only would match the guitar, because Zartan's guitar has the green rings and Ripper's guitar has the yellow rings to match theirs. We'll start off with the drums. I'm going to go in segments here because it is multiple pieces, but we'll first take a look at the bass drum and toms up here. Of course, you have the Cold Slither logo, nice and centered on there, just as it should be, right? You see the hole for the kick there, white on the backside, which is typically how it would be, so pretty true to form here. Maybe these would be clear, but that's not necessary, so it could be white, could be black, could be many things. Looks good. I'll take it over to the floor tom. I guess the only possible criticism I would have, well, okay, I found two. Maybe these legs are adjustable as they would be, and then this would be white or clear down here instead of silver. But white on top, you're only going to be looking at the top. Otherwise, the aesthetic is on point for me. Next up is your snare, which does come off, so you can adjust that a little bit. I thought maybe it would give it some movement, but once you're on there, you're kind of in place. Not much to adjust there. Top and sides look good around. Again, it is silver on the bottom. All right, so now we have the cymbals. We get two cymbals, right? You have your crash cymbal and your hi-hat. This is the 80s, so I would like probably 15 cymbals to go with this. Actually, I'd probably like double bass drums and like 40 toms. It's just excess at best, folks. But for a basic kit, this is exactly what you might want, right? You've got the crash, does have a nice wide leg range, which may seem odd, but will definitely come in handy when you get to displaying. And then you do have the hi-hat fully equipped with pedal. It doesn't work, but it is there, which is something that easily could just be left off, right? The fact of going into the detail of the type of cymbal, which is a very important one for the drum kit, I appreciate that. And then finally, you have your throne and your kick pedal for your bass drum. And look, minor detail, but this could have just been left in the plastic. They did throw a little paint on there to give you the white like you would have for it. And hey, nobody's even gonna see this, okay? So there you go. Throne looks like a throne. I mean, not much you got to do there. It's a seat and a stand. So my only major complaint or criticism with this set is the lack of amps, right? So I collect a lot of music figures throughout the years. So I'm looking at like, say, these amps that came with McFarlane's Kiss sets from back in the day, or even with sets that he put out like Jimmy Page or Hendrix. Those ones came with these cabs and amps, and it just is such a needed element to something like this. How much cooler would it have been if they had their amps? Now, it doesn't have to be this big or detailed. It could be half the size. I don't know. Just adding that element. If I want to set up this concert display, I'm going to need the amps. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. There is your San Diego Comic-Con Hasbro G.I. Joe exclusive Cold Slither set. Very cool set. I'm super glad I picked it up. I was on the fence about this one. On the first day of Comic-Con, Hasbro put up a pre-order for members, and that sold out like right away. So, of course, I'm there. I'm like, well, I'm here. I might as well pick it up. And as I said, I'm glad I did. I understand that they did go back up for pre-order more recently, and again, they've been in and out. So if this is something that you're looking for, what seems to be the case over the last several years or so is that it'll go up, it'll sell out, it'll go back up, it'll sell out, it'll go back up, it'll sell out until it is sold out. So if you are still lingering on the fence about it, probably best to just go ahead and get it. This for me is worthwhile to pick up because of the fun factor here, right? It's nostalgic, it ties into G.I. Joe. If you've been keeping up with the channel or collecting Justified or even the recap, you've heard over the last couple of months that I've actually decided to start collecting Joes, right? That's why you won't see any other Joe reviews on this channel. I'm doing backtracking at the moment. I put it off for so long because I didn't want to dive into collecting a new line, especially one with the breadth of characters and current availability as G.I. Joe. Okay, but I did. I took the dive. I'm there now. We're here now. So I've got that going for me. It's just one of those things that captures a few elements that really make collecting the fun that it's supposed to be, right? My big complaint with this was the lack of amps. I really feel like that was a necessary inclusion, and it is unfortunate that they did not include that with this set. It wasn't a cheap set. I get it. There's instruments are new, the drum set, all that stuff takes up a lot of stuff. Some of the costume elements are new as well, but there is some reuse in there and reuse within this pack, right? I think everybody's wearing the same boots. So it's one of those things where like, just give us that little bit extra, right? Figures look really good. I love the aesthetic here. It really leans into it, and I couldn't ask for more there. The package that it came in, very cool. Love the theater idea. Gives you the venue that they're playing in. You've got the marquee. It opens up to a great big window. So it's just something cool to look at. Anyway, folks, I think I'm rambling at this point, and I think I've given you more than 2 cents. So do what you want with that information. I do appreciate you checking out the video. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And until next time, take it easy.